And welcome to the Metal
Mm.
Mastermind. What's up, folks?
What's up, guys? I
Here's
thought I heard some background music there, man.
we've got Ken Candelas over here and Jason Stallworth on the other side. How you doing, Jason?
I'm good, dude. I'm ready to kick this thing off, man. This is gonna be like a really exciting and I want to say a little emotional topic today, man. Because I've had several people reach out to me over the years and of different ages, and that's kind of what we're talking about today. So Faceless, what's up, dude? Thank you for joining. Derek Rhodes is on here. Oh man, Rhodes Ozzy, what a name, dude. I'm just looking at some names here.
Love
No,
it,
but it's
dude.
we're going to talk about age today, guys. And it's this is going to be a really interesting conversation. We want to hear from you, so we're gonna like really try to manage the comments as best as we can here. But Ken, I'll just kick it off real quick. By our description of this particular episode, this is episode 3, by the way. So thank you guys so much for jumping on here. So many believe they're too old to start their music career, and here I am in my mid 40s. Like I can resonate with that. They think that ship sailed a long, long time ago. There are major benefits to being young, starting out young, really starting anything young, and we'll talk about those as well. uh, but there's another side to that, and to just starting wherever you're at in life, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each stage that a person could be starting their music career. So welcome, and thank you guys again for joining.
Yeah, welcome everybody. This is again, this is going to be a really nice, in-depth reflection on just what does it take to be even a metal musician in today's day and age. It's not necessarily having to do with age. I mean, you still got guys like Rob Halford, like still kicking it, you know. So,
I
uh,
love Rob Halford, dude. Absolutely
yeah,
love Rob Halford.
yeah.
Oh.
So it's got nothing to do with age, and at the core of it, let's open up that discussion because a lot of people do have a good amount of reasons as to feeling the way that they do, and I think the core of this question is really, is it too old to start, right? Because
Yeah.
you talk about someone like Rob Halford, he's also been in the game for a long time, but
Oh,
he's still
long
doing
time,
it,
dude.
right?
Yeah.
So there's that element to it. But then, you know, Jason, I mean, like, when did you start picking up the guitar?
I was actually and real quick, the three categories we're talking about. I used to be kind of in the middle and transitioned to the third category, but I was around 15 years old. It was towards the end of 1989, around December, November, December. I just started getting into heavy metal. I was introduced to Metallica, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. And my family's kind of musical. My uncle had this old acoustic guitar sitting in this closet, had four rusty strings on it, the first, the E through the G string there, and picked it up and just started messing around on it. Learned Iron Man. That was my first song I learned. Then my folks and my uncle saw I was serious about it, so they restrung it, got me a chord book, male bass chord book, and then that's where we went. I got my first electric about 3 months later, after Christmas. Which, long story short, we were a hardworking blue collar family, so we didn't have a lot of money. We had roof overhead, and we had clothing and home cooked meals, but we didn't have a lot of extra. And my parents had just splurged to get me a BMX GT Pro Performer bike. So they
Dude,
turned around
BMXing,
two
man.
months later and bought an electric guitar
Ah,
at the
that's
music store for
awesome.
me. So they were really stretching it. That was stretching it back then for us. And
Man.
but again, long story short, I think my parents kind of knew this, like, okay, this is going to be something for him. you know
Yeah. I love that because when I was growing up, I wasn't ever actually that diligent for music. I started, learning about music in the seventh grade. I was exposed to music. I mean, my father was a drummer, and my mother, she was a fashion designer for her own company in Puerto Rico, and both of them were like working in Puerto Rico. And when they moved to New York, uh, it was always music and art was always around. And I actually grew up more of an visual artist. So uh, taking that and wanting to like make video games. That was kind of like because I was really into like Zelda at the time,
Zelda,
and
dude.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's metal too. Yeah, but Zelda was a
So
big
metal.
part of my life. So I, kind of went into, and then when I was playing games like Halo, where you hear like lead guitar solos coming into video games and stuff like that was a big deal
Yeah.
for me. I mean, I was born in '92, brother. So by the time you started playing guitar, I wasn't even
It's
a
hard for me to
thought
wrap my
yet.
head around that, dude. Yeah. Well, Ken, we were
So,
talking about this the other day. Like I didn't know how old Ken was. Uh, Suck math. So you're what, Ken, 28?
yeah,
Um, I didn't realize your age, and we've been chatting and have built an awesome friendship over the past, I say, year, almost year and a half. And not that you look older. I'm not saying that, but I just always assumed you were a little older than that. I'm like, you're 28, dude. I'm like,
yeah.
okay, but you mean I I have so much admiration for you though,
Oh,
because
thanks, man.
you have taken it. Not only are you serious about what you do now musically and as a professional audio engineer, but guys, Ken, to get to the level he's at right now, and you've got so many achievements and so many good things you're involved in. To get to that level, though, you've pretty much busted your rump and really just dug in over the past many, many years. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. Being a musician, being a successful musician, being successful at anything, does not happen overnight. It takes a long time. It takes years of consistency. And dude, you've done that. So like
Thanks, man.
that
But
you're
yeah,
you're in a really good spot, dude.
well, you mentioned a really great point there, which is that it takes a long time. Nobody becomes a master at anything like
Yeah.
that. You we're talking about like how long does it take to even be a master at anything? And the
Yeah.
answer to that is 10,000 hours at least. 10,000 hours. So you need to dedicate so much of your time. That's years,
Yeah. It
of
is.
effort and consistency. You're not going to, you know, get become like virtuoso at guitar playing if you're just
No.
doing it as a hobby on and off. So I mean, there is that disparity. How much do you really want to get to that level, right? But to further like get on this point with how old do you feel you need to be, and people get hung up a little bit on oh well you started young and you've been doing it for a while, dude.
Oh yeah.
I didn't start playing drums until I was like 16, and I didn't take it seriously
Yeah.
until I was like 18, 19. Um, and during that time, I was like focused on like the art stuff. That point in my time when I was in high school was really a pivotal shift for me because all that time up to then, I was doing artwork. And then I decided like, you know, the artwork is fun, but I'm going in this direction, right? And that's a total change from what I was doing. And I had to get good at it, and I started like practicing a lot. And my father, being a drummer, he did not at all impose that on me. What he did was guide me in a direction. He all he ever wanted to do was just show a direction for me, and that was like one of the key things that I'll always take away from my father is that he never forced it. He said, like I just want to make your voice clear, and I said that's awesome. That's a really really great takeaway, from any life lesson. And it's just to be absolutely clear as to what do you want, right? And if that's music, then it's going to take some patience because overnight successes, guys, are 10 years in the making. It's like you get
They
10
are.
years
Yeah.
of effort building up to that point. And then, after so much effort and time and energy, um, you can have that, you can call it a stroke of luck, but really it's planned. It's planned. And it
It's a
takes
cumulative
so much,
effect, right?
it's an accumulative
It's very
effect,
good.
it's
Yeah.
exponential too. So that's one of the differences that, we always have to keep in mind is that, look, I remember when I made my first album, I knew that that album was not going to be the album that took off. You know, it's just like I know that that was going to be the stepping stone for what I was going to do next. Because as an artist, right, a lot of it has to do with legitimacy, right? And how legitimate is this person or validated is this person? You know, that's just a social thing, right? Whenever you look at a brand, you choose that brand because you trust that brand, right? So it's a similar idea. And going into, you know, looking at a new artist, right? You know, you see what they're doing, but there's not enough grounds to kind of back up the argument yet, you know, in that sense. So having that runway takes some time and effort, and most people, you might even look at authors, for example, like they write tons of books, and it's not until like their fourth book that they finally get
Yeah.
famous, you know, and people read the other stuff what came before then, and it's like, oh wow, this was a great book too, you know. So a lot has to do with that.
You know, on that point you just brought up about books, and here's the good thing. Here's what I want to say to encourage all of you is that, Ken's telling you it's probably not going to be the first thing you put out there. It's going to be the fourth or maybe even the 10th. Who knows? Here's the thing, though. Here's what perseverance will do for you when you do get that. And it's probably not going to be that one thing that's a hit. Again, it's going to be that cumulative effect, you building the audience, just putting yourself out there, year after year, every single day. But when you do hit it, when you do get to the point to where you are noticed, what's cool is everything that you've done. And this is why people go from that fine, thin, kind of like small, flat line to all of a sudden, boom. Because once you're discovered, once you put yourself out there to be discovered, then people are like, okay, well, that's your latest, but what else do you have? And they start digging through your backlog. And my first album I released in 2013, I thought it was a flop, Apocalyptic Dreams. But, to the people, as I've learned how to promote my music and promote myself, a lot of people, that's their favorite album to this day of mine. And that's my fourth album. I'm about to release my fifth album later this year. So, it's not, don't think it's just that, okay, well, I'm just going to keep throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. Keep doing what you're doing, stay true to yourself. You will naturally evolve. Let that evolution be natural, but you will force the universe to be in your favor if you have perseverance and if you have that commitment to yourself that you're going to do this no matter what.
Right.
And then again, everything you've created up to that point, once you never really get there. I don't want to say once you get there, once you make it. I don't believe that's really a thing because even Joe Satriani said, as long as I've been playing and I haven't mastered my instrument, there's something I learn every day. But as you get to the point to where, okay, the wheels are turning, this is moving, this is moving in a favorable direction. People are going to go through your backlog, and that's an awesome, awesome thing. But Ken, I want to just tell people real quick though the three groups that we were talking about just a second ago that we want to talk to you about today of people in regards to to pursuing their music at any age or what's too old, what's too young. So group one are the serious musicians. You've been doing this for a while, regardless of your age. You've been doing it for a few years. And these might be the people that are a little bit older, but you're serious about it. You love it, but you just never quote unquote made it. So that's one group of people we're going to talk about. The second group are those of you who have been playing kind of as a hobby most of your life, or maybe you just maybe you've been playing for a year or whatever and it's just kind of a hobby, but you really got this itch to take it to the next level. Then there's the people that have just started to learn an instrument and you've fallen in love with it, and you love the idea of creating music, but you're like, I want to give it a shot but not sure what to do next. So we're going to discuss those three groups, guys, and we're going to give you some of the age advantages and disadvantages of all three of those groups.
I got to definitely chime in on that because this isn't just about, you know, being old necessarily. There's actually a benefit to being older in the skin in this game, right? And you have the advantages of, you know, like wisdom and stuff like that that younger people don't have, being able to make better decisions on that front. So you have, in a sense, you know, some level of prestige on that point. And I kind of look at, going through life almost like in a militaristic rank, right? You're a cadet, you work your way up to sergeant, whatever. And all of this stuff, it's the moment you get to that next level, you're like level 1 sergeant, level 2
Hmm.
sergeant, right? You work your way up. Then, you get up to colonel. Well, when you get to colonel, and of course there's other stuff in between, but like you're at level 1 colonel, then level 2 colonel, right? It
Yeah.
always resets the levels of moving up, but you take away with you the stuff that you've learned over the years, right? So you can almost think about it like running a business. You know, a business that you created fails, but that wasn't for in vain. You ended up learning so much from that business to take on to the next business venture that you make.
Right.
And there's an advantage there. There's knowledge, there's wisdom, and a lot of that is people say like it's hard and almost in a way depressing that something fails, but failure is just a stepping stone to doing something even better for the future. um, yeah, guys, sorry about the flickering. You might see a little bit of flickering, but these
I
online
think it's
sorts
mainly
of
on my end.
connections, these sort of online connections, they always have
Yeah.
some little doodads that happen every once in a while. So
Well, to
excuse
add
for
to what
that.
you just said, Ken, you're talking about failure, and I think this is why a lot of people don't succeed and don't even start. Is
Yeah.
because they fear failure. Like, well, I don't want to fail, so I'm just not. They make every excuse in the world why they shouldn't start. And I just finished a book, and I'm not really a money guy. I don't really care. I just want the freedom, right? But I just finished this book, The 10 Distinctions Between the Middle Class and Millionaires. And it's more of a mindset. And it talks about that. That's one of those distinctions that millionaires have a mindset is they're okay with failure. They realize when they put something out, it might fail like several times, before the thing happens, right? And they're okay with that because every failure to them is a learning phase. Whereas the middle class mindset is like, well, I better not do that because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm probably going to fail at it. So that's a big, huge, huge distinction. So, DW, what's up, dude? And guys, again, apologize for the flickering. I'm not really sure what it is. It's not raining here, but hey, we'll deal with it. It's just one of those things, man. Like,
Let's
it's
just make sure
awesome.
our message gets out.
Uh, yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you guys for dealing with it, though. I appreciate you guys being on. We got a
absolutely.
really good audience here today, so we really appreciate all of you guys being on. But Ken, do you want to dive right into the first one? We want to
Yeah,
talk about
let's
the
talk
first
about it.
category,
So,
serious but never made it, dude.
So
The
yeah, for the people who were serious in doing music but never made stardom, right? We have. Let's talk about some of those cons, and some of the cons that we've seen are, probably the most frustrated of the three. Right? You've been
Oh
in
my
for so
God, yes.
long; it's kind of gotten a bitter thing attached to you, right? But and you may feel really down about that, that it's never happened for you, right? And I could totally understand that. That is so frustrating to experience. You've been working on something for so long, and
Yeah.
it's like almost you keep digging in. You're trying to find the gold, but all you keep getting is dirt. I get that. But here's the thing. With that, you also have the advantages of having many years of experience, and more likely, you're a lot better than a lot of other people in that
That's
regard,
huge.
right?
Yeah.
So things like having instrumental talent, virtuosity. This is where definitely you can have a lot of that influenced in your life, and you probably are much more comfortable performing, right? So if something were to, you know, let's say happen, you'd probably be much more prepared for it, right?
Yeah.
You've got, a catalog. You've got music that you're very good at improvisation, maybe, right? Maybe, you've been playing jazz for a long time, and now you're doing metal, and you've got that
Jazz to metal.
intuition, right? You've got that intuition, and I got to
Yeah.
say, man, being an experienced musician really, really does add to that level of intuition. I think one of the biggest things about being an artist or being a musician is tapping into that side of the brain where you
Yeah.
have that inner voice that just has an inkling and you trust it's called your gut, you know? And you're really good at tapping into that element and knowing how people are feeling in the moment. So with that, maybe what's only missing is a little bit of know-how on something that you haven't been so familiar with. Maybe you spent so much time with the artistry of it that all you need is another piece of the puzzle
The
to
marketing, right?
make that a complete picture, right? So a lot of the time that's what people, almost forget. It's that, being a Jason Becker, for example, is
Oh, dude, yeah.
is is awesome, but Jason Becker, he's one out of many people, and he had,
Yeah.
he got that deal to work on his music for under a label. But now we don't need the labels at all.
No, you really don't.
Actually,
You really don't.
we really
I
don't.
will
I
say,
mean, we're here in our own homes being able to do a broadcast and talk to fans across the world.
yeah.
So it's a matter of understanding what's happening within the times and then adapting to that. Because I feel like people in this group sometimes are a little more stubborn, right? So it's a matter of just trying to lay back
Yes,
on
we
that
are.
and try to just say, okay, understand that you are probably great. You're
Yeah.
probably fantastic. And you just need to open up a little bit to what can you do to change what's not working, right? And that may not be your performance at all. It's probably something
Yeah.
unrelated to that.
And age might be an advantage here, Ken. I kind of feel like age. I'm 45 years old. I just turned 45 last month in May, and May 19th. For those of you who want to send me a birthday gift next year or this year too. I'm kidding, guys. No, I mean most of you guys have bought me a gift already by buying my album, listening to my music, that sort of thing. So I really appreciate that. But no, I would say age might have a little advantage here. Yeah, there's the frustration part. That's if you can get over that part though, and just make the choice, because everything's a choice, right? We make the choice to deal with it well or deal with it poorly. But if you make the choice to get over that frustration, like I'm going to push on. The thing about age is, and I can attest to this, is your give a f's become less and less and less the older you get. I don't really want to say the f word on here, but your give a craps
Yeah.
will probably get less. And I can tell you that because so much has changed in my life, even the past year, just this year, just going through some of the things I've gone through and certain things that were important. Um, were to me a couple years ago, just I could give two craps about now. And it's like with that attitude, it's like, no, I'm just going to go all in on my music. Screw it. I don't care anymore. I'm just going to do it. And like Ken said, the other side to that though is sometimes it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. You got to be willing to learn, and some of that not knowing stuff is probably some of the newer technical things that are out there.
Mhm.
Like the idea of there's still musicians that Ken and I know and talk to that they don't know that you can make it without a label. They don't know that. They're still chasing that label, and we're going to get more into that in future episodes. We're going to show you how to get around that and actually keep your profits so that the record label doesn't get it. But no, I think that age has an advantage. And of course, if you've been serious for a long time, I'm going to guess that you're probably a little older anyway, maybe my age or even older than that. But without those give a craps and being able just to say, screw it, I'm just, like Richard Branson said in his book, Like a Virgin, screw it, let's do it. Screw it,
Yeah.
just do it,
You
whatever it was.
just
So,
you just start to take action more than thinking and second guessing,
yeah,
and that just comes with that wisdom. You've been through enough crap that you're
yeah,
just like, I don't really want to deal with that anymore, and you just say, I'm gonna go this
mhm,
way. There's a little bit more of that solidified determination
yeah,
in doing something, because we all do have limited time. No one here is going to live forever, so the older you get, there's also more of like, well, I kind of have to do it if I want to make it happen. And there's a little bit of that a lot of people don't end up becoming successful until later in life, and that's because of all of that. Um, but let's continue forward a little bit. Let's try and tap onto these other types of musicians too. I don't want to neglect them here. So the second group we have is our hobbyist musicians, right?
Very
And
important group here.
very important group. And these are the people who have not necessarily taken music super seriously, but now they want to um, make it a thing for them. But they
Yeah.
could have a tough time wrapping their head around, business and promoting. It's probably all too new, and it's just like, well, I never thought of my music as a business, which really, the music is a whole entire billion-dollar industry. um, and this could potentially cause you know maybe yourself to dislike playing music because it's work. It really is.
It is work. Yeah.
um, but here's the thing: you have the experience that may not take much to push to the next level, right? So you've been playing music. You probably may have been playing very passionately on your own free time,
Mhm.
and using that kind of passion, you could fuel that into the other end. And it just takes a little bit more knowledge, and in this case just takes a bit of diligence to keeping up with that consistency. And sometimes it is hard to kind of disassociate what is work and what is play. And if
Yeah.
you've been so accustomed to looking at music as just play, then trying to get it to look as a bit of work may be overwhelming. So the advice that I'd say is just to kind of take it slower, right? If you've already been doing it as a hobby, don't kill the passion for doing it as a hobby. You should want to do it. But now it's more of a matter of organizing that into a routine where it's like, okay, rather than just playing it when I feel like it, start playing it maybe on a schedule. Start there, right? And then start building the habits into getting it to be something more professional. Because really, Jason, right, the difference between a amateur and a professional is that an amateur makes music when he feels inspired, but a
Yeah.
professional creates music even when he's not, right? You have
You
to
do it when,
you
yeah,
have
you're
to just
absolutely
do
right,
it.
Ken.
You just
Yeah.
keep doing that. And part of that is just regiment and keeping to that schedule. So I really feel like that's a if you're a hobbyist, that's a great way to start.
It is, and there's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist either, guys. We've talked about this on. I've talked about this with several of you on here in one of the chops and hops. I think the last time is some people just want to do it as a passion. So I by no means want to try to force someone who does this as a hobby, who plays music as a hobby, to try to do it professionally if it's not something they really don't want to do. There's nothing wrong with just using music as an escape. You want to come in and play your guitar when you want to. Maybe you don't want to schedule. Maybe you're okay with the job you have, or with
Mhm.
your career that you have, and playing guitar is just something you do on the side, and you want to enjoy that. So there's nothing wrong with keeping it in that court. That's totally fine. Now, I assume that you guys on here, Metal Mastermind, do have something in you deep inside that says, no, that's not quite enough for me. We gotta push past this. So that's why you're here. And or even if you're on the edge, like, yeah, kind of want to keep it as a hobby, but I don't know. I'm gonna listen to Ken and Jason and see where they take me, because there's this little thing inside that's kind of growing now. We're making
Yeah.
that little, whatever you call it, inside. We'll just say it's like an alien bubble or something. I don't
I
know,
was
but it's,
gonna
it's
say a
growing
seed, but
inside.
I mean, if you got the alien coming out of you, then
Yeah, we got
that's a
some
bigger
aliens, dude.
problem, man. So,
Now, a lot of you guys are asking questions, though, a lot of you guys are making some statements about responsibilities. What's exciting is we're going to really kind of touch on that next, because I've got some. I'm kind of holding back right now, but because I
yes.
want to get us through this part first. But yeah, so yeah, nothing wrong with being a hobby. But if you are a hobbyist and you do want to take it to the next level, you're in a great spot. Whether you've been playing 2 years or 30 years, you're in a great spot, because like Ken said, you've already been playing, so you've already probably gotten to a decent level. And if you're young and you just started out, then you just need to continue practicing. But instead of practicing when you want or playing when you're inspired, like Ken just mentioned, you're going to make a schedule. And this is a good way to see if this is for you or not, because it will get tough. And let me just tell you guys this, if this is something that you're serious about, you have to be willing to make sacrifices, and you cannot make excuses. There will be no room for that if you truly want to be successful in this. That I can tell you. There's no excuses. There's an old saying. A good friend of mine told me, he's like, "You have time what you make time for," and it's really just that simple.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There's ways.
And this is absolutely not discrediting the fact that, some people have families, right? And that is a necessary part of, people's lives. Absolutely super important. It's probably the most important for so many of you. And being a family man is not easy. And devoting time, you need to devote time to the children and the wife and, or your husband or whatever situation you might be in. And this is not about sacrificing necessarily that end of your life. You need to have balance in your life. But the sacrifices that we're talking about is like, okay, maybe a little less Netflix, maybe a little less
Yeah,
Facebook, maybe, a little less takeout food, right? Maybe you
that's true.
cook in a little bit more so that you can save money to do other things and save time from what you're wasting on this end to devote to other things, right? So those are all of the essential kind of what I'm trying to get at is, sacrifice in the places where it feels like you might be wasting time, right? Because it's easy to get comfortable and easy to forget that there's a lot of things happening right now that don't need to happen right now. Like, I
There's so
actually,
much.
one of the things that I like to use is actually a website called Freedom. It's not.
Okay.
It's an application really. But when I turn on my Freedom app, it actually blocks internet websites and stuff like that, so I
Mm,
can just focus on my craft. So if I'm just working on Pro Tools and or
pretty
Logic or
awesome.
making music, and I turn on Freedom, it's like, okay, I have to take an extra step to turn it off if I wanted to just browse the internet. So just little things like that where it prevents me from, or it makes it a little harder for me to distract myself. You'd be surprised how much you actually get done on your downtime. And look, when I work in gigs like Good Morning America or SAE Institute of Technology, look, Good Morning America, guys, I have to be there at 1 a.m. Okay, that is a pain in the ass to do. So I can't just willy nilly like every day do Good Morning America and then do my next job. I'm exhausted. I have to almost pick and choose what am I going to do for that day, because if I don't, I'm going to limit myself when I'm home trying to make my music. Okay? So I prioritize making the music happen, and I need to do that, and if I don't, I feel like crap, because then it's like, well, I decided to devote time to other things that may not be the answer to what I want out of my life. So,
Right.
it's a life's full of decisions, right? You make the decisions into something that is for you in the long haul that you're passionate about. If it doesn't equate to what you're trying to get out of life, um, maybe it takes a little bit of reflection as to how to get out of that situation into something that is something that you're trying to go after, right? So, look, I love working on Good Morning America, but Good Morning America, I don't want to be there when I'm 70 years old, It's
No,
like
dude, no.
it's not good for my health being up that late. You know what I mean? So,
You have to plan too, guys. You have to, and we've had some interesting conversations in the chat here. Because I think a lot of people, probably most people are in this hobby musicians, both young and middle age and older, whatever those age ranges are. But I think a lot of people are in that boat. And here's the thing I'll say, guys. Uh, I started out, I started out with wanting to do this, going all out, wanting to do this for a living. But it wasn't happening for us. We could have kept going, and I look back now, and I know why. I know things we could have done differently. But the thing is I started making decisions after that, guys. I started making decisions after that. I decided to get married, and I decided to start having children and all that. And I'm not going to go down that road and say I wish I hadn't done those things. But here's the thing, though: when if you got to assess what you want more out of life. I'm going to be blunt, and some people may or may not agree with me here, but if music is your thing and you're not at that level yet, but you really want to get there bad enough, then if you're not married and don't have kids yet, uh, my suggestion is don't even think about that stuff right now, because that's going to get in the way. Okay, not that you can't make it. Okay, if you're already there, if you're already in that boat, don't lose hope, because I've been there too, and I'll kind of share where I'm at now. But uh, you really have to make those tough calls, guys. What I'm telling you right now is not what most people would tell you. You know what I mean? But I'm just telling you, if you're younger and you're serious about it, you know, make that number one priority. Forget about even relationships, anything that will drag you down, anything has potential to drag you down. I was listening to Glenn Fricker, Spectra Sound Studios. He's very popular on YouTube, and he was saying that's why I chose not to have children, because this is my life. You know what I mean? That's a hard choice. And that's not to say you can't have kids and make it. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying you got to make the decision that what you really want, right? What you really want out of your life. So I have been there with families. I'll share this real quick, guys. I'm going to get a little personal just for about 30 seconds here. And I am married to the most awesome person in the world. We've actually been together for over 11 years, almost 12 years now. I was married twice before that, though. I made some horrible decisions in my younger years, but I have to own those. And I was supporting a family at one time as well. I'm a little older now, so I'm beyond that point. But so I understand what it's like. I only say that because this is going to resonate with a few of you. I say that because I know how hard it is. I was working two and three jobs a lot of my 20s and even some in my 30s, and I had created all kinds of roadblocks blocking me from having that potential success. Here's where I failed. I'm going to tell you where I failed. The failure wasn't so much in the decisions, because some people make horrible decisions and they still push through them. I chose to let my decisions and the repercussions that I was dealing with from those decisions hold me back, because it was up here. It was in my mind. I was like, well, crap, I've already dug this huge hole, and the hole's even getting deeper. Uh, with,
Yeah.
and I'll share this. I have no problem sharing this, guys, with bankruptcy, with student loan debt, with child support at one time. I had everything going against me, and I chose to let all of that hold me down, you know, and it kept me from even trying. And I look back now, and I'm in a great spot in life right now. I truly am. I'm very, very thankful. But looking back, if I could take it back, it's like that Cher song. If I could go back in time, or if I could turn back time, I screwed that up. But if I could go back, I would have forced myself to still, even with all that BS that I had going on, still continue to push through. Still, no matter what. And what my message to you right now is, if that's what you really want, then you have to go for it. You can't not go for it. You know what I mean? But on that note, though, it is best if you don't make some decisions if this is what you're going to do. I'm just being
Yeah.
like from the heart honest with you guys. People say have no regrets. I actually think it's okay to have regrets, because it just means that I wouldn't do it again if I could go back. I would have chosen a little bit different path, or maybe not do this or that.
Well, you
I
be
can look
you
back
become
and things in
wiser.
my life, you know, I would have changed if I could have. So I think that's okay. So I spent a little bit more time on that, but I just wanted to say that because I think it might resonate with some of you who maybe you aren't making bad decisions. Maybe you just have a lot of responsibilities. You might be in a happy marriage, you've got kids and all that stuff, and look, we've got two dogs, two cats, and about five feral cats we take care of outside. So we still have responsibilities. I have a mortgage. Uh, but I just say that because it might resonate with some of you who maybe have not made the bad decisions, but maybe you do have a buttload of responsibilities, and that's okay. That's okay. But you just have to decide that I'm going to spend 30 minutes a day. I'd rather you guys spend 30 minutes a day on pursuing your passion than just giving up and saying, "Well, I just got too much going on, man."
Right.
And you don't touch it for 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you
So,
ever, Jason? Have you ever heard of something called Einstein time versus Newtonian time?
dude, those are big words, man. I have not.
So when we're talking about Einstein, right? We're talking, Albert Einstein, the famous scientist, and Newtonian meaning Isaac Newton, right? So here's the thing. What was Albert Einstein most famous for? The theory of relativity, which
Yes, yes,
speaks
yes.
about the speeds of light and how, going at the speed of light is our kind of our current existence, how we are experiencing the world, right? So even going faster than that, you know, there's a whole conversation about that. But Einstein kind of flipped on Isaac Newton here, right? Where in when we were talking about Isaac Newton's time, everything almost felt like it was finite. Time was not malleable, so to speak. And to stick to Newtonian time in this regard, we're talking about how we're scheduling our lives. And when you have that mindset of having Newtonian in your life, you're kind of a slave to time. That's the core essence of that. But with Einstein time, you make the time for what it is
Yeah,
that you're trying to do.
create it.
So we always have actually, we really do have the ability to create our current existence, right? That's why we go one direction or we go another direction. Why I'm saying something now, I have multiple ways of taking this conversation in a different direction in, different parallel universes, whatever you want to call it, right? But we have a choice, and that choice, as small as it could be, no matter how complicated your life may be, okay, you have the choice to say, maybe, it is that extra 30 minutes that you stay up in the night to work on this, right? Maybe it's not falling into that old routine, switching it up just a little bit, right? There's always something that you can do. You're not a slave to time. You make time. You decide where you put your efforts with the time that you have, right? And you are able to structure how you organize that, right? So, Jason, let's talk about our last group. We have yet to talk about that.
Getting started.
People who are just getting
The
started, right?
Those of you who are just getting started now, I don't know if we have any here, but of course we keep these episodes up. Man, we got deep here today, guys. This is I listen. I warned you guys this might get a little bit emotional, man. So if it does, and I just a disclaimer real quick, if I or if we said anything that might have hit you the wrong way, please don't take it that way, guys. I know I shared a lot of my personal stuff today with you, and I only did that for one. I feel extremely comfortable and trusting around every person on here. I truly do that. You guys are awesome. So, I kind of feel like sometimes I owe it to you to give you a little bit of that personal side and kind of go deep when where most people might not go that deep. But I know that we learn from one another as well. So that's that. But so the just getting started, the thing about just getting started is you have no experience. And I don't know if again, I don't know if we have any of you on here that are just getting started, but with no experience at all, it can seem a little unrealistic, even if you're young, and especially if you're older. But it can seem unrealistic to really get there because you're like, man, most of you have been playing guitar for a while. You remember that first note you hit, and then the whole fretboard's just like so foreign to you. You're like, what is this? But some of the pros of that though, here's the thing. If you are brand new, and again, most of you probably aren't just watching this right now, but if you're listening to this after the fact, or someone who's brand new, pass this along to them. Explain to them that your mind is wide open. You're not tainted by the current industry, and you don't really have any past failures in the music business. So you're just wide open, man. You're ready to go. So that's
Yeah.
just something to think about as well. if you're just getting started. What I will say to that though, if you are just getting started, um, make make create that time that Ken was talking about. I do believe that we do create our own reality, and I truly believe it's by decisions we make. Even those things that happen to you that may be out of your control, we still choose to how we react to them. And that's a hard one to swallow even for myself, but we still choose how we react to that. And
Mm.
what's on the other side of that is going to be determined by how we react to that. So that's just it, guys. You really have to just be willing to put in the time there. Ken, I think we already gave him the tip of the week too and
Yeah.
some of this stuff, man.
Well, man, it's man, it I'm just like kind of absorbing this for a second, but
Yeah, dude.
having having such an open canvas or blank canvas, right? When if you're starting out and having a blank canvas is it's an amazing opportunity to discover something new, right? That you may have not learned about yourself yet, right? With anything, really. And when you try something new, that's the excitement that you get out of it because it's so fresh, it's so new, um, that you don't know where it's going to go, right? If you've been doing something for a very long time, you've like I was talking about before, you might be even a little bit bitter about it because it's like I've been doing
Yeah,
this for so
dude.
long. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, you go into the mosh pits and that's where you take out your anger. But when you're new to it, you have like fresh ideas, but and all this excitement and fire, and you're just like, wow, this is really cool. I want to do this, I want to do that. And then you have to kind of be like, okay, well, take that excitement and energy and this newfound passion that you have, and now give it some focus on certain things because one of the things that you could be easily taken advantage of for one is because you have no experience, right? Maybe less money, but the other thing is when you're trying to like shop for the gear that you want to get and stuff like that, you don't know what the hell you're buying. So you might be more, influenced by marketing and stuff like that. And, you know, these sorts of weaknesses that come along with being new to the game. But that absolutely should not deter anybody because you're exploring. You just have to do a little bit of research, right, into doing this sort of thing. um, where are the reputable sources, right? Whenever you write an essay in
Right
college
here.
or in high school, you would have to look up reputable resources. So do the same thing when you're starting out something new, right? And
That's a good point.
research and always don't take anything at face value, right? So,
Yeah.
hey, Jason, like we're actually putting together a free guide for our our folks on the chat over here.
Pretty
Um,
freaking awesome guy.
yeah, it's essentially it's a quick start guide to your ultimate home studio. Um, so it's going to be absolutely free. We want this to be something that you guys can take away and always kind of refer back to just for major basic points. Um, you know, and you can expect more content like that to be coming out of Metal Mastermind. So it's in the works. Um,
Absolutely.
we're opening up a mailing list, so you guys are more than free to hop onto the mailing list and subscribe for that. We'll be emailing
Yeah.
what every once in a while, maybe once a week or something of that sort, and give you guys
Yeah,
some.
probably like once a week.
Yeah, we'll give you guys some really cool content through that, and I think it's going to add a lot of value to whatever you're doing, and help everybody become more immersed with that community. We're a big fan of having a big community in our lives, in our own music too. We want to further nurture that with you guys too. We love that you're
Oh
so
yeah.
engaged. We love the conversations that we're having here. This is going to be something I think that we're all going to benefit from, and I really do appreciate it when you guys, point out that we're real. Well, yeah, we're real people. We're not
Yeah, dude.
we're
Yeah.
not anywhere in. celebrity status. You know, we're normal folks
Yeah.
that are trying to do something, you know, with our lives, and we want to share that with you guys too, because we genuinely feel honest about that. So, you know,
That's a good point, Ken. You know, you bring up celebrity status. I want to cover this real quick, guys. This is a huge misconception, and this is the great, awesome news that we're sharing with you right here. Is that you don't have to be celebrity status to make it, to make a living with your music, to make a living with doing something you love to do. You don't have to be. There's a theory of the 1,000 fans, and you guys may have heard it. Actually, several entrepreneurs have talked about this. You know, about getting, instead of having millions of fans, having 1,000 fans that love your stuff enough to, you know, let's just say they buy $100 of merchandise from you each year. That's not a lot of money, okay? But that times 1,000, well, there's your six-figure income. So some of you guys have heard of that, and some of you have not. But you don't have to have a celebrity status. And actually, I don't know that I ever want that personally. You know, yeah, it'd be cool to walk into like a music store or go to a metal concert, you know, and somebody say, "Hey, dude, I've seen you on YouTube." That would be kind of cool. But I don't care. I don't know. Most of you probably don't care. We're metalheads, man. We don't give a crap about, you know, being on the same platform as the Kardashians and these other folks. Nothing
yeah,
against those people. I don't have anything against them, but you know, this is the beauty of our community. This is our metal community. This is a metal family here. We're cut out a little differently from the rest of the world. I get, you know, I mean, look at us. We're just different, you know. I don't want to say we're better, but since metal's better, I guess we're kind of better. I'm halfway joking, but well, you know, no, but you just know that, guys. Just know that your your goal should not be trying to get to stardom with your music. Your goal rather should just try to reach out to those specific people that are going to like your specific style of music and support you. And that's what I do. That's what Ken does. That's what we're doing with this channel, Metal Mastermind. Metal Mastermind, we could be trying to reach all musicians. And if people that don't listen to metal come on here, we're perfectly fine with that. But that's not really our goal. Our goal is to help those in metal musicians, because some of the things that we cover will be like this, where it's a bit more broad, and it's kind of, you know, to the heart, you know, touches those, pulls those heartstrings. But a lot of things we cover too is going to pertain, you know, specifically to metal musicians. So don't try to go after that stardom and fame, because chances of you getting there, not saying it can't happen, but I think you're going to be a lot happy just earning a living off doing what you truly love to do without feeling like you had to sell out or go a different direction that you really didn't want to go. So I just wanted to bring that point up when Ken said that we weren't celebrities. I
yeah.
guess we're not celebrities, are
You know,
we?
and if with everything that we're doing, it's with always the perspective of a metalhead, because that's who we are. So you're always going to get that side in whatever we're talking about. And actually, I
Yeah.
always felt that metalheads were some of the most calm people in the world. And that's probably because of
Yeah,
that
dude.
anger and frustration being
Yeah.
taken out on the music, you know? You know, you listen to hardcore metal, you're getting a lot of angst out of you by doing that. And most of the time you end up becoming like pretty zen about it, you know? So when you're
Yeah.
out there and you're doing your thing, you know, and some bull crap happens during your day and you come home and you listen to metal, you kind of wind down, you know. I mean, by the way, metal is the best. Even sharks like metal, okay? So it's it's such a great way to like release tension. And I personally I prefer to meditate every night. I feel that by doing that, it gives me a lot more clarity of mind. Also helps my mood. Meditation
Dude,
is
yes.
a wonderful practice. It really is a practice. It's
It
not a
is.
talent. You have to get to be more comfortable with being in that space, and that will take some time. It's not going to come in on the first session. It's not going to come in on the
Yeah.
10th. You know, so we'll talk about more of that when we talk. Things like health and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
this is
Be a good session coming up,
this
you
is
know.
this is a really a really great, heartwarming session, for me and for Jason as well. Um, you
It's
know,
crazy good, dude. It's
there,
crazy. Ken, how often do you meditate? By the way, I'm sorry, I want to ask you that the other
I
day. How
every night,
often and for how long?
every night, for just about 30 minutes. I devote, you
Oh, that's a
know,
long time. Yeah,
I devote that time, and I kind of have my own ritual about it. I like to shower before I do it. I feel all that cleanse. I'm very calm, and then I perform my meditation. But it's a time. Usually, it ends up being past midnight when I do it because it's like all quiet and
dude.
wind down, and I also take supplements like CBD oil and that stuff just to help ease the
I've been
body.
wanting to try that. I've not
Um,
tried that yet.
uh, Good stuff. I
Here's our
it's
age
good
difference,
stuff.
by the way. You're up past midnight. I'm an old man, dude. 9:30 rolls around, and I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
dying, dude. I got to go to bed. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also like my body clock is so much more accustomed to the night because of working late hours
Yeah,
and early
yeah, I
morning
get that.
hours with Good Morning America. Being there at 1 a.m. to like 11 a.m. It's like, dude, like it's a whole
Oh,
shift.
dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a whole shift. So my body's kind of on that clock too. But
Got
most
it.
of the time I go to bed around 1 to 2 a.m. and then I wake up somewhere around like 10.
Wow, wow,
So,
dude.
it's a little shifted. It's not like yeah, like normal people's schedules. Usually they'll go to bed at like 10 or 11 and then maybe wake up at like 7 or something of that sort.
Yeah,
Yeah, mine's is just a little bit shifted, especially during this,
faceless. I love that.
time with, during the pandemic. I have a little bit more time to actually devote to sleep, so I've been trying to take advantage of that.
The
um,
faceless says Ken meditates. Jason cracks open a beer. I do yoga for my stuff though. They kind of like similar to meditation. I do yoga, and that's mainly because I lift weights, and one of them we are gonna do a health session probably soon, I guess, Ken, since we're talking. If this is actually, let us know, guys, in the comments if you would like for us to do like kind of a health session and how that relates to being a musician and artist. Just let us know in the comments if that's something you're interested in. If it's not, just say I don't really care about that. You will not offend us, by the way, because we this is for you. It's for all of you guys. So if this is something you'd like for us to talk more about, please let us know because it's we can do that. But anyway, so like I like to do yoga. That's kind of helped me in some of the other things that I've done. And CG does yoga with his ex and farted a lot. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, so yeah, because we would like, okay, so that would be great because it's something that Ken and I really wanted to talk with you guys about. Because I Ken, and you probably agree with me here. I think it's just as vital as getting better as a musician, getting better at your craft.
Mhm. Oh yeah, dude. When I devoted more time to my health,
Yeah,
I actually saw um, like kind of like a snowball effect from that. I started becoming more focused and
yeah,
being able to devote more time to what I wanted to do, and that's because I was just in a better state of mind. So
yes,
a lot of it's a circle of life. Yeah, dude, I definitely want to talk a bit about the structure of how music is made, but I always looked at music inspired by the artwork, inspired by the
hmm,
music, inspired by the storytelling that's being done. And
yeah.
each one of those inspires the other. The music inspires the art, the music inspires the story. The story inspires the music, the story inspires the art, right? And
It's a full circle,
all of
dude.
that.
Yeah, I
It's a
love
full
it.
circle. And you can say mind, body, and soul, you know all of
Yeah,
that comes together as well. So
they all correlate.
there's a lot of that sort of yin yang kind of thing happening in the world with anything, but it all comes to balance, right? So to kind of like wrap this up, guys, what we're coming down to is giving yourself the balance that's necessary to do what it is that you want to do, right?
Yeah,
Whether that's music or whether that's doing a business you've been trying to start this whole time, or maybe
yeah,
you need to devote more time to family or that. Whatever is important to you, right? We're not going to be the judge of what's important to you. But what we are going
No,
to tell you is
absolutely not.
that in order to do what's important to you, you need to devote time, energy, and money to that, right?
Yeah,
So it's a matter of focus. And, if scheduling is hard for you, start by working on a regimen. If you're so used to going to work, I'm now probably nobody's working right now, but if you were
no,
so
dude, it's
used to
crazy.
going to work, right? uh, Take that mentality of, okay, well, you dedicated that amount of hours to work. Take that same mentality and dedicate it to something that you love, right? Even if it's once a week, 30 minutes, right? Just start by that way and being fervorously determined to make it that way. And then
Yeah,
watch the snowball effect. Because once you start doing that, you're going to start being like, I can do a little bit more with this time. Then you might
yeah.
start saying, I'm going to allot a little bit more time, maybe a little bit more time. And then you'll start to see you're not a victim to the Newtonian time, but you are a creator of the Einstein time.
What's interesting about what Ken just said is that when a lot of times we get like just so overwhelmed in our minds, and a lot of times we create that. And yeah, you may have a busy schedule, you may have family, kids, you may have a second job, even. But what I've found is so amazing in this theory that Ken's talking about today, and some of this stuff's new to me. I learn a lot from Ken, but when you start doing certain things and start having laser sharp focus on certain things at that moment, something magical happens. It's almost like you find yourself having more time than what you did before. It's very, very strange. I've yet to be able to explain it other than the fact that what Ken's talking about is that ability to create that time. But it's something the way our brains are wired. When you start saying, okay, I'm going to focus 10 minutes a day and meditate and do yoga at this specific time, no matter what. And during this specific time over here, I'm going to practice guitar Monday, Wednesday, Friday on those days at a specific time. But then Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays, I'm going to spend that time dedicated to writing new music, and then
Yeah.
understand that that schedule will change in another phase. The next phase of that, maybe I meditate 20 minutes, or maybe I alternate yoga and meditation during that time. You keep that, but then maybe your songwriting time, you'll still practice those other days. Maybe your songwriting times in phase two turns into, okay, I'm laying down tracks now.
Yeah.
Phase three. Phase three might be, okay, I'm looking for to the people, the musicians to do the parts that I can't. We've talked about that, about hiring a drummer or working with other musicians. So, if you write all this out like in a spreadsheet, I know there's a lot of tools out there. I'm still kind of a spreadsheet guy. I use Apple, what is it? Apple
Spreadsheets are
Numbers,
great.
and
Keep yourself
you know,
organized.
yeah, it's free, and I just write out. Actually, in some YouTube video coming up here probably next week, I'm gonna share the project plan I wrote out. Very simple. It's not overwhelming because I'm easily overwhelmed, man. If it gets too hard, I'm like, it's like Beavis and Butthead when they're trying to pull the plane crash and the door wouldn't
Oh,
open and there's a pregnant girl
oh,
inside,
oh,
and he's
oh.
trying to open the door. He's like, oh, that's too hard, so they give up and walk away. That's me sometimes. Not if the pregnant chick's in there, I'd save her. But anyway, um, but it's real simple. Is what I'm saying is I don't I'm a very I'm like Leonard Skinner, man. I'm a simple man. Horrible pun, but I like to keep things simple and easy to understand. And in the project plan, I'll share this with you guys upcoming. It's very simple, but you have to make the plan though. That's Ken and I kind of talking about this is you do have to have some kind of plan in place. You don't want to just like wake up and like, "Oh, I think I'll just do this today. I think I'll practice 10 minutes and, blah, blah, blah." Because then the next day rolls around and that doesn't happen again. You have to have that plan in place, guys. So that's
Yeah.
that's crucial. That's, the
You
huge
know,
tip for
um,
today.
some tips, just something that actually saw help me. I started to limit my wardrobe. Okay.
Mm.
I
Ooh,
threw
yes.
out a bunch of like shirts and pants that I just never really used. And I limited the amount of
Yeah.
brain power it took for me to just choose what I needed to wear for that day. So really all you're ever going to see is like this black shirt, which I prefer to get a good quality black shirt so that I don't have to
Yeah.
think about it, right? And I can just devote more of the day to what it is that I'm going to do and devote that brain power to that. Because we have only a limited amount of brain power in a day. We can only recharge that when we sleep. So the less amount of distractions that you have, the more you can be focused on that stuff. And guys, one important thing is to be patient with yourself, because I have been a victim of beating myself up. I'm sure like Jason as well, where it's like, I didn't do it this
Sure.
way. Oh my God, I suck. I'm the worst. But here's the thing, man. Like, at least you're doing it, okay? Like, just don't beat yourself up for trying. Like, that's a surefire way to make yourself fail. And that's not a good way to do that. You want to be healthy about it, and you just say, okay, well, I don't understand it now, so how can I understand it? And then if it takes a little bit longer to do that, then that's okay. But as long as you're willing to work for that, you know? So guys, just take that and, run with it. Start small, get bigger as you work on it, right? It doesn't take that much to start. It takes a lot over the long term, right? So
Yeah.
don't get too zoomed in, and don't look too zoomed out. But focus on what's important. What was that, Jason? You kind of cut off.
No, just be in the moment. No, be in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Be focus on right now. That's the best thing you can do. Is don't worry. You want to have a plan, yes, but in the moment, focus on that very moment.
Yeah.
Razor sharp focus, man. I can't. This is one thing I've failed at so much over the years, and it took me until I got into my 40s to really start having that laser sharp focus when I sit down and do something. And it's just, you get so much more done in less amount of time. And it goes back to that, having that focus on certain scheduled tasks actually gives you more time. You're doing more stuff, but you have more time. It is just like I'm still like, flabbergasted by that to this day, how that works out.
Yeah.
It doesn't make mathematical sense, but it works.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been an awesome episode. I'm so happy that we
Sure.
talked about this. And guys, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Metal Mastermind. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't already, and to also subscribe if you haven't done so. Really
Yes,
helps
guys.
us
Yeah.
out. We're trying to get the message out there. Let's do this together. And, we're here to help guide you into living a better life, whatever that means for you. Just take away the principles, right? So, thanks again, guys. This is Ken Candelas and Jason
Jason
Stallworth.
Stallworth. Yep. Thank you, guys. You guys have an awesome day. Have an awesome weekend. We'll talk next week.
Yes, absolutely.